The Living Zen-podcast is a gift from the members and associates of the Victoria Zen Centre to you. If you enjoy it, please be sure to let your friends know about Living Zen. If you'd like to support our community, here are a few ways that you can do it. Download the Living Zen podcast app for iPod, iPhone, or Android. You can also purchase additional Zen Talks by Venerable Eshu on iTunes or Amazon.com. One of the most meaningful ways to show your support is by joining our Sangha as an associate. Your commitment of $10 a month will ensure that offerings like the Living Zen podcast and our online e-Zendo will continue to be available around the world to everyone with an interest in truly living Zen. To become an associate, please visit our website at www.zenwest.ca and click on the membership tab. Thank you for your support.
Mistakes, eh? Life's full of them. So nice to have a little bit of light as we come in to the sit this evening, although it brings with it a little bit of sleepiness in the morning, I think. We have this e-Zendo every weekday morning at 6 o'clock. And this morning I overshot it by, I think, 4 hours. I slept extra. So, mistakes. One of the challenges that we have, especially in this kind of practice, is to investigate how it is that we respond to our mistakes. So much of our lives is spent trying to save face, trying to preserve the image, the persona that we've spent our whole lives creating. The expert or the genius, the artist. We spend a lot of time trying to avoid embarrassment, trying to avoid mistakes. But in the end, each and every one of us is just a human being. And each and every one of us lives a life that's absolutely full of mistakes. For those of you who are new tonight, already I think that you can see that in the form of Zen practice, there is a lot of detail. There's a lot of choreography, structure. Walk in step, bow here, ring this bell, yada yada. 1,000 aspects of form, 1,000 details, 1,000 places to make mistakes. And our fundamental practice when we come into this environment is to just dissolve, to give ourselves completely to manifesting harmoniously with this form. So when it comes time to bow, we bow. When it comes time to chant, we chant. When it comes time to walk, we walk. When it comes time to sit, we just take up this upright position and sit. This isn't something special. This isn't something different or outside of the ordinary course of our lives, although it can certainly seem so. But when we engage in Zen practice in our regular, everyday lives, it's no different. When we're cooking our dinner, just cooking our dinner, doing our dishes as we do our dishes, completely using the toilet when we're using the toilet. It's not such a complex thing. And yet, even in this simple activity of sitting, as we sit here for the first little while, we can see that it isn't such an easy thing either. Simple, but not easy. Engaging in this simple activity of sitting, we can pretty much be doing everything but sitting here. And making lists and doing tasks and having conversations and reliving old memories and having all kinds of fantasies and buying things and spending things and but not sitting. And that's okay. The question is, and the focus of our practice, is what happens when we become aware of the separation, the distance between what it is that we are engaged in, the activity that we're engaged in, and where we are. This is part of the function of all of these little aspects of form, keep in step and bow now and ring this bell, is that it provides us with a million opportunities to witness how much of our life we're not actually there for. How often in just an evening, an hour of practice, we're doing one thing with our body, we're in one environment with our person, and completely somewhere else in our mind and in our heart. And this form, this practice, particularly in a community where we're kind of accountable to a community, just through our presence, it provides us with this opportunity to experiment, to explore how we respond when we become aware that we've drifted off. Everybody's got their eyes down. And so oftentimes, nobody even knows it as clearly as we do. But because the form is so crisp and clean, neatly defined, when we step off, when we drift away, we can become very crisply aware. And when we do, what happens? We can watch as the critic arises and says, "Oh, you big dummy, you missed it again." We can watch as the lawyer arises and says, "Well, I had a perfectly good reason. Life is really busy right now, and I've got a lot of things to think about. I'm an important person, you know. All this sitting, I should probably be doing something else anyway." We can witness as the denier arises. It wasn't me. Nobody saw that anyway. Okay, I'm good. But in the end, what we are developing, what we are clarifying through practice, is our own ability to see, simply to witness. And in the grand scheme of things, as we go along in this practice, when you miss a bow, when you stumble over a syllable, when you fall out of step, when your posture gets crooked, when you lose the count, if you're counting your breath, when you're off in fantasy land, when our practice is to be completely present, it's not really a big deal. Certainly nobody's going to die. Being a perfect Zen practitioner in the formal practice, never miss a bow, knowing every syllable, staying perfectly on count, isn't really such a big deal. It won't make your life all that much better. What happens when we step off, what happens when we catch ourselves, is we have this opportunity to exercise this ability to re-engage. We have this opportunity to let it go, to hear these voices of the critic, the lawyer, the excuser, the liar, to hear them all and to just let it drop and to come back to this activity, whatever it is that we're engaged in, whether it's sitting, whether it's walking, whether it's chanting, whether it's doing our dishes, whether it's a conversation or a class that we're taking or a job that we're doing. To say, I've been away and now I'm back. And what we can see through practice is the difference. What happens when we're able to do this? What happens when we're not? What happens when we get into a conversation with the lawyer, with the denier? The chances are, when we get involved with our critic, we continue to miss steps because we're so busy criticizing ourselves or making excuses. When all we need to do is simply drop it and come back to the activity that we're engaged in. Fundamentally, this practice is not about mastering some form, learning about some religion. This practice is about investigating our very own nature. Investigating this thing that we call I, me, person, personality. Where does it come from when we can identify it? Where does it go when we completely dissolve and immerse ourselves into the activity we're engaged in? This is our fundamental investigation. The recognition, the realization of our true nature, or awakening, if you like. So all of these little activities, they can seem frustrating at times, maddening. Bow here, ring there, chant there, sit up straight, all these kind of rules. But we can't hold them tightly. We can't make them our enemy or stand in opposition. Each and every one of these aspects of form, and further, each and every aspect of our day-to-day lives can be understood, experienced, or perceived as just a facet of a mirror, a great world mirror that offers us the opportunity to see who it is that we truly are. Each facet offering us an opportunity to keep stumbling or to see more clearly and go forward, manifesting clearly our true selves.
Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.